Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I want to go over a common that I've been having a lot of fun with from Strixhaven, Fortifying Draught. So, let's get into it. Fortifying Draught is an 8-mana green spell with Flash, and it reads, you gain 3 life. Then, target creature you control gets +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. Now, that potential for a really big +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained, is really what drew my eye to this card in the first place. Unfortunately, in Puzzle Quest, we don't have a second main phase like you do in Paper Magic. So cards, or creatures I should say, that have lifelink aren't going to really be able to impact Fortifying Draught. You're not going to be able to have a creature with lifelink hit your opponent and then gain the life from that, and then even though this thing has flash this thing into play to buff your next creature, or anything like that. You have to gain all of the life before you would have your combat phase. And so as a result of that, this card is going to work best if you have a spell or a support or planeswalker ability or Vanguard that's going to make it so that you gain life before combat and before you cast this spell. Now, I sort of inadvertently stumbled across my favorite combo with this card, and that is to pair Fortifying Draught with a card called Inscription of Abundance. Inscription of Abundance is a 7-mana spell that makes it so that target creature you control gets +3/+3. Then you gain life equal to that creature's power, meaning that you gain life equal to that creature's power +3, because that creature is going to get the +3/+3 before you're going to gain the life. And even more importantly, this card has Flash. So the reason why it's really important that this card has Flash is because our Fortifying Draught also happens to have Flash. And when we pair both of these together with my favorite creature target for this, which is Calamax, we get to get a really cool combo going. So Calamax is a masterpiece from the Ikoria set. And Calamax says, when you cast a card with Flash, if it's not a copy, copy that card. That card gains full mana. This effect can trigger up to 3 times per turn. So what you can do with Calamax and these two cards is, if you have Calamax out, you go ahead and you cast Inscription of Abundance on Calamax, which will give Calamax +5/+5, because Calamax has, when you copy a spell, this creature gets +2/+2, so Calamax is going to become a 12/12. Then you're going to go ahead and gain 12 life, and then you're going to copy the Inscription of Abundance, which is going to enter your hand with full mana. Then you cast Fortifying Draught, which is going to gain you another 3 life. Added on to that 12 you gained from the Inscription, you're going to have gained 15 life, giving the Calamax +15/+15. Then, once you've done that, the draft is going to copy itself, because Calamax says, when you cast a card with Flash, if it's not a copy, copy it. But the cool thing about this is then that means that your Inscription of Abundance is now going to cast again, the copy. And that copy is going to then give you even more life, because Calamax's power toughness is going to have increased from the Fortifying Draught. At which point you'll have gained a whole bunch more life from that second Inscription, at which point your second Fortifying Draught is going to cast, and then it's going to make you gain more life and make Calamax get even bigger. I've gotten Calamax into the thousands, almost to 10,000 from this combo, just by being able to cast the Inscriptions of Abundance and Fortifying Draught, which makes it a very fun combo. Now, if you want to get even more out of the combo, you're going to want to add a 4th card to the mix, and that 4th card is called Alhammarret's Archive. And you're going to want to throw Alhammarret's Archive into the mix, because what Alhammarret's Archive says is whenever you would draw a card, you draw 2 instead, which is sort of pointless for this. But the important piece is whenever you would gain life, you gain 2 times that much life instead. Meaning that Calamax is going to be getting twice the buffing from Fortifying Draught and then the Inscription of Abundance, because it's going to be making you gain so much life. Now, you'll see that because Calamax, Fortifying Draught, and Inscription of Abundance are all green, and Alhammarret's Archive is a colorless card, you can throw this into any green deck you have. Now you can go ahead and run just the draft and the inscription without Calamax in the event that you don't have Calamax. But if you want to be able to perform the absolutely wacky and nutty combo that I'm going to be showing you in this video, you do want to have Calamax to get all the extra fun out of it. So like I say, this is probably one of the more fun things that I found from Strixhaven. It's not something I would use in competitive play because it requires that you have 4 cards. Granted, you're going to want to go ahead and build out the rest of your deck around these cards. So you're going to want to have Creature Fetch to get your Calamax. You're going to want to actually run something like Realms Uncharted, which is what I like to run to start thinning my deck out to make it more likely that I draw the draft and the Inscription of Abundance. And then you're going to want to be able to have enough mana to be able to cast them all in the same turn. So Gem Conversion is going to be your friend, Card Draw is going to be your friend, all that kind of good stuff. So I want to go ahead and show you what this stuff looks like in action and stop rambling so you guys can see how much fun it is. Let's go to the gameplay. So match number 1 here is against Karn, and you'll see that I wound up throwing Double Major and Eureka Moment into the deck. I wound up going sort of full on the whole like flash train for this. And then you'll also see that I threw Tanazir Quandrix in the deck. In the event that you're wondering why Tanazir is in the deck, Tanazir is in here because Tanazir, when it enters the battlefield, is going to double the buff value of one of your creatures. And so I was kind of hoping that I would be able to have it double all of the buffs from all of my life gain from the Fortifying Draught and make a really wacky thing happen. But ultimately, the combo wound up being so powerful that it was irrelevant. So here, I'm just trying to make sure that I have a Fortifying Draught and an Inscription of Abundance in my hand. I'm going to let the Double Major cast in the event that I do wind up getting a Turn Timber here, just because I was like, you know, I might as well, you know. I did not make a horizontal match, so even if I do play the Turn Timber, I am not going to get the land here from the land forming, but that's okay. Now, the advantage to buffing up Calamax with these Double Majors here is that the bigger that Calamax gets before you start using your Inscription of Abundance combo, the better, because all of those extra buffs are going to make it so that initial Inscription of Abundance is going to make you gain more life, which means that that original Fortifying Draught is also going to make you gain more life. Now there I decided to actually cast the extra Double Major just in case, but alas, there was really no point. So I've got my first ability with Nissa. At this point, I'm really just hoping to be able to cast both Inscription of Abundance and Fortifying Draught here, which I will be able to do. Unfortunately, it did not give me enough of a match in order to be able to cast my Tanazir also. I would have loved to have been able to have casted Tanazir, but that's okay. So here you're seeing what happens if we use just one copy of Inscription of Abundance and just one copy of the Fortifying Draught. So there's the Inscription of Abundance. You'll see that it copies in my hand. Here's the first Fortifying Draught. Here's the second of Inscription of Abundance, which was a copy. And then here you'll see now the second Fortifying Draught is now going to boost Calamax up to 529. And that's the end of Karn, or really anything else. So let's jump to the next match. This next and final match is going to be up against Bolas, and so it's really kind of a quickie. Bolas really, I don't think, lasted very long in this match. I got a little bit lucky, which definitely helped, but nonetheless, I really didn't lose any matches with this deck, and I played a lot of matches, guys. I played a lot of matches. So here I've got some Tanazirs in my hand, which I'm absolutely hoping to be able to use to boost the power of Calamax. I've got the Realms Uncharted here, which is fantastic because it's going to help me fetch Turn Timber, which is going to fetch me the Calamax. And then after casting that, I'm going to go ahead and kick it. Kicking it is going to give me Conversion, which is good. That gets me over to Turn Timber. And so now at this stage, I've got my first ability, which is still going to make it so that we're just getting more and more mana, more and more conversion. It's going to make it so that I will be able to get that Turn Timber and Calamax here. Unfortunately, I do not have the Fortifying Draught just yet, but Alhammerits does enable us to draw 2 cards, which is good. So I'll take the 5 match on the bottom, keep it going, and then as I keep it going, here's the Alhammerits, here's Turn Timber number 1 to get Calamax. And so now all we need is the Draft, and then here's going to be Turn Timber number 2. So here's going to be our next Calamax. And so once again, the greater that the power toughness of the Calamax, the greater of a benefit you're going to wind up getting from your Inscription of Abundance, because you're going to be gaining more life. I was hoping to be able to draw cards there, but I had forgotten that I'd already used my loyalty ability. That turn lasted a really long time. And then I believe that I actually wind up getting pretty lucky on draws here. And yeah, look at that. So we get the Inscription and the Draft in the same draw. You'll see that I've got 2 Tanazirs in my hand ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead. It's important, by the way, to make sure that you use the Inscription of Abundance first and the Fortifying Draught second. If you use the Draft first before the Abundance, you're not going to get what you need out of the combo. Now here I go ahead, I freeze down both Tanazirs because I happen to have a 5 match in green, and so I'm just hoping to be able to get all of the goodness going. And so I'm going to take that 5 match for sure, and so that's going to get me the Inscription of Abundance. So I'm actually going to go ahead, use that first Inscription of Abundance to buff up Calamax, and then I'm not going to kick it. So I'm not going to kick it. And then here we're going to go ahead, use the second one. That one was actually kind of foolish. I should have actually saved it for the Fortifying Draught. And then now here I can actually cast the Fortifying Draught, and I'm going to be able to use Tanazir to be able to boost up the Calamax from double buffs. So here's going to be the first Fortifying Draught. And so here you'll see that I get to use Tanazir to buff up the Calamax quite a bit, actually. So Calamax goes up to 406, and just imagine if I had saved that Fortifying Draught. But nonetheless, this shows you why I use Calamax in the deck, and that's the end of Bolas. So I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. I had a lot of fun doing this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.